Hi everyone and welcome to our video tutorial for this Harry Potter cat scarf. So I hope you enjoy it. Please like, share and subscribe and we hope to see you soon. Thanks. Bye. Okay, to make this Harry Potter cat scarf, you'll need yarn in two colours. I'm going for the classic Gryffindor colours, but of course you can you can make this in any other house colour, or you can make it in non-Harry Potter colours if you've got a sports team or anything that you want to support with the two colours with the scarf. Then you can totally adapt it to any sort of supporters scarf. So yeah, I've got this deep magenta red. It's an acrylic wool. It's about a 3 weight. This one here is actually a cotton acrylic, and it's probably closer to a 2 weight. So I'm slightly out with matching my yarn, but this is about the best I could do from my yarn stash, and it works out fine for this pattern. But obviously it's best if you can match the same yarn and the same yarn weight. You'll need a crochet hook that corresponds to your yarn, and I'm using 3mm for this today. It's actually slightly smaller than what my yarn recommends, but for this pattern, yeah, that's what I'm choosing to go for. You might need a larger crochet hook to attach your tassels. That can be a good idea to have something like that on hand. A pair of scissors to snip your ends. You may or may not need a darning needle. I'm going to show you how to work in your ends. You don't have to do that. You might need a darning needle if you want to weave in your ends at the end. You can even, with this pattern, you can even cover your end and beginning tail ends with your tassels. So you can get away with not having a darning needle for this pattern, but if you want to weave in any ends, then you'll need a darning needle. And an optional tape measure. Now I'll include sort of just a general guide to cat neck sizes in the description box below, so you can use that and refer to that. This one is obviously really easy to fit. It doesn't have to have an exact fit. You'll just adjust it according to your cat's neck circumference, how long you want it to be, how you want it to sit, how you want it to fit, all those sort of things. So you can adjust that to your liking. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Definitely beginner friendly, and let's move on to the techniques that you'll need to know. Okay, so to make this Harry Potter cat scarf, you'll need to know how to slip knot onto your hook, how to create a chain. You'll need to know how to double crochet, how to half double crochet. You'll need to know how to double crochet 2 together and half double crochet 2 together. And I run through that in this tutorial, but I don't run through it super slowly. So if you need to brush up on any of these basic techniques before you get started, then please do by using a beginner's tutorial series on another crochet channel, or whatever resources you've got. So just brush up on those techniques before you get started. We'll be changing color, and I'll show you how I do that. But you might have a different method to what I use. I use a method that allows me to not have many ends to weave in, and that creates a relatively seamless color change. For a project this thin, it's not easy to get that seamless color change, but and this kind of small, but it's not bad. It's pretty good for the color change. So I'll show you how I do that, and then from there you'll need to know how to make some tassels, and I'll show you that at the end as well. Again, there's plenty of video tutorials on how to make tassels. I just make these ones in the really simple way. So yeah, I'll show you that, but you'll need to know how to make some tassels, and you may choose not to add tassels. That's definitely optional. So yeah, that's about it. So let's get started. Okay, so take your color 1 and make a slip knot onto your hook. Oops. Well, let's start that again. So there's a few different ways to do that. So you just do that however you make a slip knot, and then you're going to make a chain to the width that you want for your scarf. So I'm going to chain 6 for this hook size and yarn that I'm using, and for the width that I want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you might want a width that's, you know, smaller or larger than this, but I'm going to chain 6, and then I'm going to add 2 for a turning chain. Okay, so you'll have your number of chains, however you want this to, wide you want this to be, and then you chain 2 extra as a turning chain. Now we're going to work double crochets into each chain, starting from the 3rd chain from the hook. Now you've got an option here. You can work into this, what I call the 3rd loop in the back here of the chain, or you can just work into the front of the chain. Now if you're choosing not to add tassels, working into that 3rd loop can make your work just a little bit more symmetrical. If you're adding tassels, it's not, you know, it's not as much of a big deal. You can just work into the front, but I'm going to choose to work into this 3rd loop. So you make that decision whether you work just into the front of the chain or if you want to work into this 3rd loop. So once again, working into the 3rd chain from the hook, you'll insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a double crochet in US terminology. So we're just going to do our double crochets to the end of this first row. So for me there'll be 6. You might have a different number. Now it's a good idea with this pattern just to keep, you know, your stitch number in mind and make sure that you've got the correct number of stitches each time you work across. Now I've got my five stitches there, and I'm in this last chain. I'm going to actually double crochet 2 together. So I'll insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we stop in the middle of that first one, and then we're going to go again. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 3. Now why we'll do that, and it's only optional. If you don't want to do this, it's fine. Once again, because we've got a really narrow project, quite a small project, what this will do at the end here is it will just help to even up the the edges. So it'll keep them nice and straight. Okay? So, like I said, it's optional, but I think you'll find it worth the effort if you choose to do that, especially for such a small project. You know, these small details can matter. So you'll chain 2 to get to the next row, and then you'll, in that first stitch, you'll double crochet. So why we do that double crochet 2 together in the previous row is because it accounts for the chain, or it makes it even with the chain plus the double crochet in that first stitch. Okay, so it keeps this edge nice and straight. So then you'll work your double crochets, 1 in each stitch until you get to the end stitch, and then you'll do that double crochet 2 together again. Okay, so just make sure when you're doing this, just make sure you're not, so this is why I'm saying just keep an eye on the number of stitches. So just make sure that you never work into that chain from the previous row. Okay, in this case here it was our chain from the foundation chain, but just make sure you're never working into the actual chain. You're only working into the stitch. So you're not increasing ever, okay, by accident with these double crochet 2 together at the end. So we'll chain 2. So we're going to repeat that row 2 more times to have 4 rows in this beginning section. So go ahead, you finish off your next 2 rows. So just repeat row 2 for 2 more rows, and I will meet you once I've done mine. Now just before I go, just don't complete your last stitch because we're going to change colour. Okay, so work to the last stitch of your 4th row and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm at the end of my 4th row here. So in this last stitch, we're going to do that double crochet 2 together. So start that off, pull through those 2 loops, and when you've got 3 loops left on your hook, stop, and this is where we're going to change colour. Okay, so take your colour 2, whatever that is for you, and place your yarn over your hook and pull through. Okay, so my tail end is on one side and then I've got my working end on this side. Now just gently pull those ends to make sure the work is nice and secure in there. And then you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Okay, so we've made our first colour change. Now once again, just pull those tight. So you want to make your colour changes as seamless as possible if you can. And we're going to bring our yellow tail with us, or whatever is equivalent to your yellow tail, to my yellow tail, whatever colour you're using. And we're also going to bring the red through. Okay, so it's ready to pick up for our next row. So we're going to do it, what I recommend that you do is you work them in from the front here. Okay, so yarn over, and you'll just have to move those out of the way for the first stitch and do your double crochet. And then once you've completed that first double crochet, give especially the red, or whatever is your red, a little tug. Okay, so you want that edge, that red tail to sit nice and closely in the side there. Okay, so it's nice and neat. And pull on the yellow tail, and then you'll finish off your row with double crochets in this new colour until you get to the end stitch, and then we're going to do that double crochet 2 together with a colour change again. And we're working in our yellow tail as we go, so this will save us a lot of weaving in. So I'm at my last stitch here, so I'm going to do my double crochet 2 together. Stop once I've got my 3 loops on the hook, and then I'm going to change my colour again, just as I did before. So I'm going to gently pull on those. Now just be careful not to pull too tight, you don't want to misshape your work. And then you can now snip off this short yellow tail. Okay, so you've woven that one through, and you can snip that off. And now we're going to do a row of half double crochet in between our two stripes. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now bring the yellow with you because we'll need it for the next stripe. So place it from the front over top of your work. And what that also does, it helps to just cover this little area here as well. Okay, so we're going to half double crochet. So move that tail out of the way to get to that first stitch and half double crochet. Pull, once again, pull that tail nice and tight so it's lying against your work. Now try and just make sure, you don't have to be this fussy, but if you can cover a little bit that tail end, then that's good. Cover that red, I should say that red from the previous row. Oops, half double crochet. So half double crochet all the way down to the end, and then we're going to half double crochet 2 together and change colour. So this is just the little strip of colour 1 in between the 2 stripes of colour 2. So I'm at my last stitch there. So I'm going to half double crochet 2 together. So it's pretty much the same. So pull up a loop, finish here, stop here, and then you're going to go back in, pull up a loop, and then with your colour 2 you're going to pull through all 5 of those loops. Okay, and then just tighten again, chain 2, oops, chain 2 and turn. Once again, bring your red with you, you'll need it for the next section, and yarn over. So we're going to back to double crochets now for the second stripe. So double crochet, now just pull that colour 1 tail end, the red, nice and tight. Double crochets to the end until you get to the last stitch, and once again we'll change colour back to the red. So for me that's my 5th stitch, and then into my 6th stitch, And I'll once again do my double crochet 2 together with my color change. So 3 on my hook, bring my red through. Okay, and then tidy up the tension. Now chain 2. Now bring your yellow with you one more time so you can work in that tail end, and then we're going back to repeating this section here, so the first section. So we're going to do 4 rows of double crochet with the double crochet 2 together at the end. Okay, so find that first stitch, double crochet in each stitch to the end. So you're working in your yellow tail, and at the end of this row we're going to snip off our yellow tail. So work that in here. So I'm no great fan of weaving in tails at the end, so any opportunity for me to work them in during the project, I'm very happy. So I'm going to show you how I do this. So at this point you will not be changing color, so you'll just do your double crochet 2 together, and then you can snip off this color 2 and leave it for your next set of stripes. So now you'll go ahead and you'll repeat 3 more rows of double crochet, repeating exactly this previous row for 4 more rows, and then you'll repeat this section here, and you'll keep doing that repeat. So the 4 rows and then the stripe section, 4 rows stripe section, until you get to the length that you want for your scarf. Okay, and that's entirely up to you. You can have a longer scarf, you can have a shorter scarf. You just want to be able to tie it or loop it, so it can sit on your cat, and of course it will also depend on the neck circumference of your cat. So you'll decide when you stop, but of course you want to finish on a row of 4, so 4 rows, or a section of 4 rows, so it's symmetrical. Okay, and then we'll be adding on our tassels onto the top and bottom ends. So you go ahead and complete to the length that you want your scarf to be, and you can try it on your cat and see where you're at as you go, or work to a neck circumference. So I'll let you know how far I go when I come back, but I'm guessing it's probably not going to be under 50 centimeters. I think it'll probably be closer to 60 centimeters for Melba's neck circumference of about 24 centimeters. So that gives me her neck circumference plus a good amount so it can hang down, and I can tie a little, like a little knot for it to sit around her neck. So I think probably 50 to 60 centimeters is where I'm going to land. I might end up a little bit longer if I try it on her and see where I'm at, but you'll work out that length for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off my scarf, and I'll meet you shortly. Okay, so here I am at my last row. So I've completed my last section of 4 rows, and I'm just working in my last stitch here, which will be a double crochet 2 together, and I've ended up with about 57 centimeters, and I've tried it on Melba. You might be able to see her hair on it already, but I've tried it on her, and that's the length that I'm happy with. So now I'm just going to yarn over and pull through and snip off a tail end that I will just work into my tassel, so I'm not even going to weave in my tail ends at this point. Okay, so now the tassels are entirely up to you. Like I said, you don't have to include them. Some of the versions of Harry Potter scarves don't have tassels actually. Some have little short ones, some have longer ones, so it's entirely up to you how you do this. Now I've actually already done some at the end of the other end, the beginning end of this scarf. So I'll show you what I've done here. So this is how mine are going to look. Okay, so I've got 5 sets, yeah, you can see how that is. So I'm going to do that again on this end, and I'll just show you how to do one of the tassels, and then you can go ahead and decide how you place them, how you alternate the colors. Now I'm kind of toying with the idea of alternating them the opposite way for the other end, but maybe I'll just keep it the same. So you could do for the other tail end, you could do, you know, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. You know, it's entirely up to you how you work that out. No, I think I'll just keep them the same. I'll just keep them the same. Now I'll show you how I make these basic tassels, and as I said at the beginning, there's heaps of videos on how to do this if you need extra help, but I'll show you how to do them here. So take the color that you want to make the tassel with, and you'll have to make a decision of how long you want them to be. So I've got my tassels, let me just tell you how long I've made mine. Mine are, once I've given them a little bit of a haircut, they're about 3 centimeters long. So I want, so you need to double that obviously, because they're folded over. Okay, so they're folded over to make the tassels. So I'm going to measure my 3, 6 to make it double, and I'm going to add an extra couple of centimeters on there. Actually, maybe I'll add just a little bit extra. So I'm going to have that sort of length, and then I'm just going to double. You'll need to decide how many strands you want in each tassel, and I've got 8. Okay, so I'm going to need to make 4 loops. So I just, using that length that I've measured, I'm just going to make 4 little loops like this. Okay, so you can just cut your strands each at the length that you want. What I just do is I wind them around like that, and then I just, so snip off that end. So I've got my 4 strands here, but when I fold it over, it's going to be a strands of 8, which will give me these 8 strand tassels. Okay, so, and then I just snip the little loops. So I've got all my strands there. And taking my larger crochet hook, so I'll show you how I'll do it with this end one. So I'll show you how I work that tassel in, that tail into the tassel, sorry. So one of your tassels at the end has a 9 strand, but you know, you can't tell, so it's no big deal. So take your larger crochet hook, I think you'll find that easier. And you want to work them from all the same way, because for me, I always want the knots to all appear in the same way. Okay, so what I do is I just lay the end like this. I insert my hook into where I want the tassel to be. Fold your strands in half and just pull them through with your crochet hook. Okay, try and keep them quite tight so they all come through together and neatly, and then just pull this out so you get a loop that you can then feed the other ends through. So get them all through there. And then all you need to do is you just need to keep making sure that one's not getting left behind. You want to bring all the strands with you in a approximately even way. And then pull on all the strands to tighten the knot. And eventually, because you've left a little bit extra, you'll be able to give them all a haircut at the end. Okay, and make them all nice and even. So go ahead. Oh, and I've actually left my tail behind, but I can just, what I'll do is just pull that through with my small hook to make it part of this tassel so I don't have to weave it in. There we go. There. So I'll just, give that a haircut with the rest of them. So cut them at the end so you can make them all even. So just, have them a bit uneven to start with, and then cut them all at the end. Just allow, some extra so you can do that with each tassel, even them up. So I'm going to go ahead and complete my other 4 tassels. I'm adding 5. You might be adding less. You might only add 3. You might add whatever, it's entirely up to you. You might add 6. You might add thinner ones. You might have shorter ones. So entirely up to you. So I'll finish that off and then I'll come back. Okay, so there I've added my 2 sides of tassels, or 2 ends of tassels. So you just make sure that they're nice and even, and you can, you know, give them as much of a haircut as you need to make them even. I might have one side slightly shorter than the other. Oh no, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this this pattern for all those Harry Potter fans out there. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, you can use this to, you know, to support any team that you like. So, yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks very much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you soon. Actually, before I go, just a reminder that I love to see the photos that of, you know, your creations of your cat. Please be sure to include their name. I love to meet your kitties. So yeah, you can send along photos to catventurers.community@gmail.com, or you can tag us on social media at catventurous.crochet. So once again, thanks very much for being here and see you soon. Bye. You can do it. Ready? You ready? You want to do it? Hi. Yeah. Good job. Really? You want to get down? Thank you.